You know, you can have 5 people cooking the exact same dish, and each person will have their own take on it, and it can be equally as delicious because what you're tasting is that person's personal flair. I love cooking dishes like this because it reminds me of where I came from. It reminds me of my family. Hi, I'm Rick Martinez. I am a cookbook author, chef, video host, and I'm here today to show you one of my favorite dishes that my mom used to make, but a sort of a reimagined little twist on it. One that I was inspired by really delicious fresh ripe peaches in Texas while I was growing up. And we are going to pair it with an incredibly delicious peach and tea julep using Maker's Mark 46. It's got really beautiful bold flavors. It's gonna pair so well together, and I can't wait to get started. So this is one of those dishes that it was kind of a special occasion dish. I was really little. I was probably like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4. But I remember the smells in the house. It was so flavorful, so aromatic. And when I actually tasted the dish, I really liked it. So when I got to college, I got really homesick. I wanted to experience my mom's food again. And so I remember I called her and I was like, can you give me your cabbage roll recipe? And I started to make it, and I had these 2 really beautifully ripe peaches. I don't know why I thought this, but I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna chop those up and throw them in. And the flavor was just so incredible. And so that became the idea for this dish. So the first thing we're gonna do is make the tomato sauce. So this needs to cook for about 45 minutes just to get all those flavors really nice and developed. We're gonna start with olive oil. Just throw that in. And basically everything that we prepped earlier just goes back into this pot. All right, so these onions are looking really good. So I'm going to pull about a cup of these onions and reserve those for the filling. Okay, so now we're gonna add our tomatoes. And so this is 2 28-ounce cans of whole tomatoes. And don't worry, these will actually disintegrate as they cook. I'm gonna give them a little bit of a helping hand and just give them a light little crush. All right, this looks good. Now we're gonna start working on the cabbage. Okay, so while the water is coming up to a boil, we're gonna prep the cabbage. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna peel back some of these leaves that maybe don't look their best. The smaller leaves actually work best, in my opinion, but we will use as much of the cabbage as we possibly can. So to get the core out, what I'm gonna do is take my knife and go in at an angle. So basically what you wanna do is you want to cut through the middle, probably about 1 inch down from the top of the core. So you just wanna make an incision and make sure the tip of the knife just goes all the way to the center. Kind of just give it a little wiggle, pull it out, and then go back again. You have to go back in and just, you know, give it a little wiggle. That's totally fine. Oh. And then sometimes the core just flies out. All right, so this cabbage is now ready for our steam bath. So all we need to do is just carefully lower it into the water. And I will set a timer for 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, we will peel back the first probably 4 or 5 leaves. It's been 5 minutes, and you can see the outer layers have turned this really pretty spring green color. Okay, it's super hot, so I'm gonna let it sit here for a second to cool off ever so slightly. Okay, so it stopped steaming and it's cool enough for me to handle. So then just carefully, and you wanna make sure that you're not tearing the leaves, just lift it up and kind of pull it back. And they should be soft enough that they just come off without any effort at all. And then when you get to a leaf that actually feels like it's still attached or might want to tear, that's your clue that you need to go back into the steam bath. And we'll let that one go for another 5 minutes. I'm gonna work on the filling. I'm just going to chop some beautiful fresh parsley. Now we're going to crack an egg. Once it's beaten, I'm gonna add my salt, and that'll help get that all nice and dissolved. Now we're adding 2 tablespoons of the peach preserves. I just want to break this up and make sure that everything is well incorporated. And then we're going to add our sour cream. Basically, I just want to mix all the liquid things first. Okay. And I have here my ground pork. I'm going to throw that in. And I have my rice. This is uncooked rice. Don't worry, it's going to cook while it's in the oven. And we'll add our parsley. Okay, and I have my cooled onions that I reserved from the initial saute. We're gonna add those in. I'm gonna give this a mix, and so what I like to do is just go in, and it's almost as if you're pulling the meat apart. The last thing, now that the meat looks really nice and mixed, I'm going to add the cooled cooked tomato sauce. All right, and this is what you are looking for once it's properly mixed. Now that I have cooled, softened, partially cooked leaves, I'm going to trim them up a little bit. And so all you have to do is make a V-shaped cut. All right, so this is the filling and rolling part. It's actually super, super easy, especially now that we've cut that little V out. You just want to take your filling, drop it in the center, take the 2 flaps that you cut, fold one over, and then fold the other over like that, and then just give it a roll. And that's it. So I'm just going to top them with the remaining tomato sauce. Okay, so now we're going to cover them with foil. And these are ready for the oven. They will be ready in a little over an hour. These smell so amazing. Okay, super excited. This is like my favorite moment, the reveal. Look at that. Oh my God, it smells so good. Okay, we're gonna let this rest for about 30 to 60 minutes. While these are resting, I'm gonna go make a cocktail. I am so excited about this cocktail. We are gonna be making a peach and Earl Grey julep. This is going to pair so incredibly well with the cabbage rolls, and because it's a bourbon-forward cocktail, I'm really excited to be using Maker's Mark 46. This is a reimagined recipe that uses seared French oak to amplify the flavors that I love, like caramel and vanilla and baking spices. It's gonna pull out all of those peach and tea flavors that are gonna just make this cocktail absolutely scrumptious. So, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna muddle the mint. I have some beautiful fresh mint, and to that I'm going to add my not only simple syrup, but this is brown sugar and Earl Grey simple syrup, and we're just gonna muddle this together. And so what muddling does is we're gonna extract all the flavor out of the mint. Okay, so this is beautifully muddled, and now we're gonna add the best ingredient. This is 2 parts of Maker's Mark 46. Now we're gonna add a little bit of peach nectar and a dash of some bitters. And I'm gonna give this a little stir to combine all those flavors and pull up some of that minty syrup off the bottom. And now we'll add the ice. Oh, look at that. Oof. Okay, so now I'm just gonna stir this up, and I think we're ready for a garnish. And this is a peach and Earl Grey julep. It smells so good. All of those delicious caramel and vanilla and minty flavors in one glass. I can't wait to try this with my cabbage rolls, which are probably cooled off by now. So let's go back inside and eat. I am so excited. This is the moment that I've waited for, to taste all of these things together. Just gonna go for it. Oh, that is so good. And you know, even though it reminds me of home, it was very different than my mom's. The first thing that I got was that kind of pop of sweetness and brightness from the peach preserves, but not overly sweet. It's just enough. It's like perfectly balanced. And these flavors pair so well with the bold and assertive flavors of Maker's Mark 46. The reimagined recipe just amplifies all those flavors that I love that are in this dish. It's such a great pairing. You're gonna love it.